Hey gang, that whole opening was done on a NanoCortex. The NanoCortex, if you don't know or haven't seen a whole bunch of videos already, this is the little brother to the Quad Cortex. I mean, look at the size difference. And this is pretty small given how powerful it is and what it does. So this is crazy how they shrunk it down. Now, it's not the Quad Cortex shrunk down. They took the capture portion of the Quad Cortex and put it here, and then gave you some effects to work with as well. So I should tell you, Neural sent me this to show you, and I happily said yes, and then they were like, and you could share some captures. And I was like, for free? And they were like, yeah, and I was like, for free? Okay. So I have a ton of captures for you that are gonna be on the Neural Cloud, including that one. And everything that was in that opening tune as well. Just like some of my favorite stuff. It's really cool. But even though Neural sent this, I have to give you some pros and cons to this because it's not all upsides. Although, let me say right up front, in terms of the capture process, it is the easiest. I have all of them. Some of them take 8 hours. Some of them are faster, but require more of you, and then sometimes it's not good and you gotta do it again. The Quad Cortex's capture process has the highest consistency of turning out something that sounds like what you're capturing. And with a low capture time, it's about 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, something around that. I never really measured because it wasn't a big deal. So putting the capture process into the hands of more people was, I think, a really cool thing for them to do. Also, if you are the kind of person that just wants your amps and your captures on your pedal board, this is a super great option. If you're looking for something that will be your all-in-one, you gotta look at the Quad Cortex. This probably is not enough. For instance, there's a delay, but there is one kind of delay. And for instance, there is a reverb, and there's one kind of reverb. On the very downside, there's no compressor in here, and I would have loved to see a compressor, especially in the front end. You can have up to 4 sounds. The MIDI only lets you select a patch. It doesn't let you do comprehensive control changes. And to deep dive, you do need to use the app. Now on the upside, it's small, it's light, it's stereo, it sounds great. The app is really easy to use. There's already 1 million sounds online for free that can go into this. And it's the actual complete full capture device from the Quad Cortex. So if you don't know what capturing is, let me show you. I repeated this process for several of my favorite amps, like this vintage Nailer and this modified X88, my vintage Fender Princeton, and perhaps my favorite amp of all time, the Friedman Little Sister. You could download these to your Quad Cortex or NanoCortex. Just, you gotta find me on there, my profile, and they'll all be under there for free. Now let me run you through a couple of these captures that I made, and in the process, I'll be able to show you the app and how this works. Now thankfully everything on the front panel works. Check this out. You've got all of the controls that you would want, your gain, middle treble, volume, control over the effects over here. So once you're going, it's really nice to just reach over and turn a knob rather than control the app. But in order to really make presets, the app is super helpful, unless you're one of those people that just remembers that, like, oh, second bank, fifth light over, that is the, I don't know, whatever you assigned to it months ago. I'm not that kind of person, so it really helps to have names, and there's no screen on this. So bulletproof, no screen, but gotta use the app for some deep diving. Okay, now you can see I'm set up to do some capturing. I've got the NanoCortex there, and I've got the Bogner Fish running into a VHC power amp with like the loudest fan ever. So it's noisy, it's about to get noisier. In order to make a capture, I go into my Cortex Cloud, I select my NanoCortex, create new capture, And then it walks you through the setup. It's very easy to set up. Of all the capture devices, it's in the top 2 of easy to set up. And the capture process is tops. It's the easiest one, and it delivers a good capture more often than the competition, I would say. So we're gonna skip, I know how to set it up. We're already set up. Here we go. We are ready to go. And now I'll show you something. This is the amp set up through the cabinet and the microphones. We're a little noisy. All right, and now let's activate our capture. It's gonna be loud. Use ear protection, folks. Ah, there it is. Now it's finished, it's capturing, and you can see it's thinking about it right now. And while it's thinking about it, I'm gonna write in what this is. And I wait, it takes a few minutes. Great, we finished. And now we hit next. So now inside the app, I can choose my new capture as the neural capture. And that's what we're listening to. That's freaking close. So I'm gonna run you through the presets I made for that opening song. I have 4 here, corresponding to the 4 pedals. The first is the Clean Sauce. It's based on my Fender Princeton. It's a vintage 60s Fender Princeton. And then I run it through that 412 cab. Oh, there's nothing like an old Fender combo running through a 412 Marshall cab. Like, it just takes them to the next level. And then this has all that sauce on it. You could turn off the sauce quite easily. Scrolling down, you see here, this is where my amp choices, the captures are. This is your IRs. I captured most of my tones with the cabinet. There are some that I'm putting up there that were direct from the head, and then you'll activate these. And here is our effects. I'm going to turn all these off really easily. We'll go back up there. Look at that, we'll just gain her up. Love that. Let's check this out here. They have a pitch shifter. Pitch shifter is really cool for a couple things. One is if your singer goes, "Can we lower the key?" You're like, no, I only know this song one way. You could just go ahead and lower that, your semitone, -1. Done. Take your pick. Pick any key. I can play in every key. Another cool thing this does is it works as an octaver. Send it down to 12. Make a little blend here. This is the perfect spot to put a compressor, and I would have traded, well, I needed the noise gate, but I would have traded the pitch shifting for a compressor. Reminder to you all, anytime any of these other modelers have come out, they were not fully fledged. So I'm assuming this is 1.0 software. Maybe they'll add a compressor for us in the future. Fingers crossed on that one. That will sound cooler. And then, let's go back to these effects. Let's put on, nice, beautiful. Let's go for the longest reverb humanly possible here. It goes on forever. It's a really beautiful sounding reverb, this Mind Hall. It's what I mostly choose when I'm using the quad Cortex, although I wish there was a room choice in here as well. Maybe a plate. I don't see that. Just give me everything. That's all I'm saying. Another patch is Breakup Nay. That is the Naylor SuperDrive 60 low gain. One thing that makes me a little crazy, I gotta say, and I'm hoping that they'll adjust. The time is in milliseconds, of course, that's great. I haven't found a tap tempo, nor is there a BPM. Why can't I just type in the tempo? Wouldn't that be even easier, especially on the fly? Lovely. Dirty Sauce is that same Naylor SuperDrive 60 in the high gain. Balls Up Bog is that Bogner we captured earlier. So if I turn off all of these effects and want to try a different capture there, one thing, you want to reset your EQs because you want to hear how that capture was originally intended. And then let's grab like this Bad Cat Jet Black. Awesome amp, right? I captured this one direct, not through that cab, so it doesn't have a cabinet on it. We need an IR. Good, pop over to your IR section. This 10-incher sounds awesome. Or, you know, or pick a bass amp. You can, of course, load your own IRs. I love doing that. To me, when I use my own IRs, it feels like, now I'm home. I love that. To grab some other sounds from your library, you just go to that library pane, My Neural Captures, and they're all loaded in right there. These are the ones I'm uploading to the Neural Capture Cloud in the sky that you can have them. Once you're done with the deep diving, you don't need this anymore, and you could just work from this. You could make your changes, save your changes very easily. It has a great headphone out, so if you want to do that, it works as a computer interface. Because Neural DSP says that the NanoCortex can function as an interface, I wanted to try it and see what functionality was there and what isn't there. And a couple things surprised me. One is it does sound really good, and the headphones sounds great. It's a very clear, nice headphone amp. So that's a nice bonus. The other biggest thing that I thought was great, it's fully powered from the USB cable coming from my laptop. That is a big deal for me. Another thing I discovered, I don't know if they call it a feature or not. If you plug your guitar into input 1, it's going through the NanoCortex and all of the amplifier stuff. But if you go into the capture input, you'll get a low-level signal, right? And there's a boost, which is nice. So you can actually plug an SM57 and record vocals in there. I would say scratch vocals because you don't seem to have really a gain control. But on a 57, with the boost engaged, it was good enough to like put down a scratch vocal or an idea for sure.
This
is an SM57 plugged directly into the NanoCortex capture input with that boost engaged. When you set up your NanoCortex to be used as your interface, the headphone level control is done with this little dial at the back, but if you plug in speakers to your output 1 and 2, that control will be done very comfortably from the front panel knob. Now the only problem with it being a computer interface is that it doesn't have an effects loop. So if you wanted to add your favorite reverb or delay after your amp capture, you can't do that. So if you're going to use it that way, record it dry and add your effects later. So that is the NanoCortex from Neural DSP. It is a powerful little box. I have this suspicion it is not done cooking, so to speak. I think there will be some impressive software updates because they have continuously been updating the quad Cortex. I don't know why this would be any different. And I think it needs a couple things. You know, it needs a compressor, maybe a boost in front. That would be nice. Although the gain adjustments, if you're going up or down on the captures, sounds very natural. There are other devices that don't sound so natural when they do it. This is one of the highlights of the quad Cortex, is that when you have a capture and you want to adjust the bass, treble, middle, gain, it feels really natural. It feels like you're still in the world of that amp. So another reason why this is very powerful. Again, if you're looking for a complete multi-effects, this is not the way to go. It's a capture box. It is the capture slice out of the quad Cortex. Thank you to Neural for sending me this to check out and to show you. I've got some links below. I'm going to put my profile so you could go and find those sounds if you are already a Neural user. And I've got links to IRs and my album and all kinds of other fun stuff down there. So again, thank you, and thank you for watching.
Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2.